Today, we are launching a first ever comprehensive economic report that details the unique depth, scope, and strengths of our special relationship between California and Israel. This report tells the unique story of two peoples who shared values, a common vision for innovation, and a dream to make our world a much better place. And what stands out most to me about this special bond is that it manifests most visibly during challenging times for us. Whether it is providing firefighting aid to each other or sharing coronavirus vaccine data, California and Israel always stand together. And this report tells that story. Today, we will hear from esteemed leaders and economic experts who will discuss this report and how it could further the California-Israel partnership. Before starting introductions, I want to take this opportunity to thank all the participants here, Lieutenant Governor Koulakis, Director Myers, Deputy Foreign Minister Errol, Director CEO Bean, and to all the friends who supported us in this project, in the Foreign Ministry, in the Economic Department, in the Innovation Authority, and beyond. And now it is my honor to introduce a friend and a partner in diplomacy. Lieutenant Governor Koulakis is a business person, diplomat, policymaker, and the face of California's international affairs and trade efforts. She's a staunch friend of Israel who is deeply committed to developing international connections between us. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for all that you have done to promote our mutual relationship and for your leadership. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Koulakis.
Thank you so much, my friend, Mr. Consul General. It is a great pleasure to see you again and to be here with you today. Deputy Foreign Minister Roll, it is an honor to meet you and to share today's platform with you as we gather to discuss what I consider to be one of California's most important international relationships. And there is no better foundation for today's discussion than the latest report from the Bay Area Council titled Silicon Valley to Silicon Wadi, California's Technology Ties with Israel. California's relationship with Israel goes much deeper and is much broader than just the tech sector. But this is a natural point to discuss and to focus on as we both look to shape the emerging economies of tomorrow. I want to thank in advance our good friends from the Council, CEO Jim Wunderman and Senior Director Sean Randolph, for their work on assembling this report and for the presentation Sean will give in a few moments about his findings. As Governor Newsom's representative for international affairs and trade development, and as a former U.S. ambassador, it is my great privilege to represent California in our relationships with our foreign partners. I'm particularly pleased to be able to highlight today our ties with the state of Israel. For me, this is also a great personal satisfaction. For over 25 years, I've had the occasion to travel to Israel numerous times to visit my aunt, who served as a Greek Orthodox nun in Jerusalem at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. My bond with Israel was strengthened even further when I had the honor to serve as U.S. ambassador to Hungary. During my time in Budapest, I became well acquainted with the tribulations faced by Jews in Europe over the centuries, and of course, during the Second World War, the Shoah. These deeply moving and impactful experiences have instilled in me an unshakable commitment to do my part to speak out against any and all acts of genocide or violence directed at others due to their religious beliefs, their race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. The work being done at the United States Holocaust Museum and Memorial in Washington, at Yad Vashem in Israel, at the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, and at many other similar institutions around the world must always be supported. Today, we are here to speak about economic cooperation and prosperity, which in so many ways underpin the stability of our societies and lead to the maintenance of security of our people. The economic ties between Israel and California are strong and they are growing. Like all of you, I'm looking forward to learning more from Sean about the report and his findings, which demonstrate that California and Israel's close collaboration has been a key factor supporting innovation sectors that are moving the needle in both of our economies. These findings reinforce something we already know here in California. Our global connections and our diversity make our state stronger. We are the #1 state in the US for two-way trade, and we lead the nation for jobs supported by foreign businesses and foreign direct investment. That includes more than 6,000 jobs supported by Israeli-owned firms, paying more than $600 million in wages for Californians across our state. In California, we have the talent base, the innovation mindset, the problem-solving mentality, and the strong global ties that international companies need to flourish. You can see these global ties in our people. 27% of California's residents are foreign-born. Half of us have at least one immigrant parent. We have become the #1 destination for immigrants into the United States, enriching our culture and powering our economy, which, if we were an independent nation, would be the 5th largest in the world. California's economy runs on innovation, and we have a strong foundation for collaboration with Israel in many of our most innovative industries. Much of the work with Israel has focused on working to address key issues related to climate change, including water conservation and climate-smart agriculture. But there are several other sectors where California and Israel have similar strength. Both of us have advanced cybersecurity clusters, a sector that is more important than ever as more and more of our critical infrastructure moves online. In health tech, both California and Israel are global leaders for medical services and devices. And in mobility, our companies are already working together to facilitate efficient and safe transportation solutions for the future. In addition to the commercial relations that link us, the California-Israel relationship is also benefited by the thriving binational institutions that support the work we do together. I know many of these organizations are listening now, so I'd like to take a moment to thank you for your important work. To the California-Israel Chamber of Commerce, the many important Jewish community organizations across the state, and entities that promote collaboration at the federal level. These include the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation, the Binational Agricultural R&D Fund, and the U.S.-Israel Binational Science Foundation. Your work has been and continues to be absolutely essential in promoting our shared priorities and advancing key initiatives that allow us to move forward together. I'm glad to continue this conversation this morning and see what we can accomplish next. Mr. Consul General, thank you for convening us here today, and I'm happy to turn it back over to you.
Ambassador Koulakis, Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for your words and for your friendship and for your support. Always appreciated and amazing. And I'm now pleased to introduce the Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister, Idan Rol. Deputy Foreign Minister Rol assumed his position this past June. He embodies the next generation of estimable and promising leadership in Israel. His background in tech and innovation gives him a deep understanding of the importance of our connection in California. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister Rol, for being straight out from Jerusalem, from your office, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Consul General, for the intro, and thank you for your strong leadership in this major effort. Lieutenant Governor, I'm grateful to you for this opportunity to meet virtually for the launch of this important report. This report highlights decades of extremely productive and fruitful cooperation between our states, scientists, and communities. Israel and the US have a special bond, a unique relationship based on shared values, vision, and dreams. The ties between California and Israel are a strong reflection of this bond and have their unique characteristics. We both dream to make the world a better place. We dare to hope and to innovate. The strength of this partnership is that we complement each other's industries, excel in knowledge sharing, and support one another at times of need. Dear Lieutenant Governor and dear friends, our communities are deeply connected. Our companies are natural partners, and our experts are working together for the next step in scientific achievement. We have established strong foundations and multiple channels for cooperation, and I know that we are committed to making them even deeper and stronger, especially in the wake of the global challenges facing us, such as COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, food insecurity, and water scarcity. I look forward to hearing more details from this important report and discuss future steps. Thank you very much.
Before continuing, I would like to mention the presence of two esteemed colleagues, our Consul General from Los Angeles, Dr. Ilan Newman, who was a partner in this report, and of course the Deputy Director General of Economic Department in the Foreign Ministry, Yair Tzadok, who was very supportive, and thank you for that. At this time, I would like to introduce the leader of organization that was instrumental in creation of this report, who will introduce his team and the author of the report. Jim Wunderman is CEO of the Bay Area Council, which has been an influential leading force in shaping the future of business in San Francisco Bay Area ecosystem. Welcome, Jim, and thank you for your support and for your work.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Consul General. Glad that we finally reached this day, and Deputy Foreign Minister Roll, thank you for joining us at the end of your day, and always good to partner with Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis. It's a habit, and with Director Dee Myers, and for everyone who's participating in the panel today, and for all of the guests. The Bay Area Council is really proud of what's taken place in our region that's led us to have such incredible leadership, innovation. Over the years, as we studied our own region and our own state, what we found is that the leadership of research and innovation in so many countries have located facilities and offices in Silicon Valley and in San Francisco and the Bay Area. And we started to study those relationships with a series of reports on China and India, the European Union, Australia, Mexico, and I could go on with the list. But one of the ones that we always wanted to really look at, because we were aware of the growing relationship and the important role that Israel was playing in the innovation economy, was to really see what was taking place between California and Israel, and particularly the Bay Area. So working with with Consul General Shlomo, thank you very much for your friendship. And friendship is very important in this equation. I think it's one thing to engage in study and understanding with people and institutions from all over the world, but there's something special about Israel, and I think the Lieutenant Governor came to that in her remarks. And as a member of the Jewish community in San Francisco, I'm particularly proud that we were able to pull this one off. And as I read the report, I wasn't shocked, but certainly surprised and enlightened by a lot of the findings. And it certainly leads us to believe that this is just the beginning. And from this base of knowledge, we can move forward and do a lot more work together that's perhaps more formal and even deepen the collaboration. And I hope, as we put COVID-19 in the rearview mirror, that we'll be able to welcome a delegation from Israel and perhaps lead one as well. That would be I think, a great thing to do, and perhaps an object of all of this work. So thank you very, very much for participating in this. And I want to introduce the person who's behind all of this work, Dr. Sean Randolph, who I've had the pleasure of working with now for almost 2 decades. And Sean is a brilliant, incredibly creative leader who was the former president of the Economic Institute and decided to focus more on the research side, and is the senior director and leads on all of the reports on the Bay Area and California's relationship on innovation and trade with other regional economies, national economies. So Sean, thank you for leading this work again. I think you did a fantastic job. No surprise there as well. And I look forward to listening to the panel again, to our partners in Israel. Thank you very, very much for your support and work on this with us, and let's go forward.
Well, terrific. Thank you very much, Jim. And as Jim mentioned, this is something we've wanted to do for many, many years here at the Economic Institute and at the Council. We've written reports on many countries, China, India, Singapore, the European Union, and others. And we always believed something special was happening regarding Israel and wanted to tell the story. And so I want to personally thank our consuls general from Israel in San Francisco and in Los Angeles for supporting this effort and for an amazing number of introductions to extraordinary people, both here in California and in Israel, who contributed just incredible amounts of insight and information that really tell the story for us and tell the story for our readers. And also want to thank the Breakthrough Foundation for supporting this work. Again, this has been about 10, maybe 11 months now of effort going into this, and we wouldn't have been able to do this without their support. So first, something about the report. We'll go to a few slides here just to pin down the details, and Justin on our team is going to move the slides forward for us. Great. So an outline for the story. The report addresses the question, what makes Israel uniquely productive as a site for innovation and for startups? So we'll go to the next slide. We analyze in detail, and I have to say there's more than 80 pages here of detail, but everyone is just riveting, I think. It analyzes the depth of the technology connections between Israel and California. And in doing so, it conveys what is the value of that activity in Israel and what is the value that has contributed to our economy here in California through that relationship. And then at the end, we go more deeply into what kind of opportunities do we think this presents for stronger cooperation in the future. So to get there, we interviewed almost 100 companies, leaders in large companies, small companies, startup founders, institutional heads, people running accelerators. And it's really, again, the insight of those almost 100 people that fill in this story. So first, a few of the key findings before giving a little bit more of the background. These are two of the densest hubs of startup activity in the entire world. The Bay Area, of course, is well known as being the world's premier center for startups and for entrepreneurial activity, for technology development, and broadly for innovation. And in many ways, Israel is similar for its density and intensity of activities in these areas, especially startup activity. So the relationship between these two really makes this a unique connection. There's a lot of R&D that goes on in Israel. We found that nearly 25% of all the multinational corporate R&D centers and innovation offices in Israel are from California. And the California companies are responsible for almost half of the value in the entire world of acquisitions of Israeli companies, and 70% of the value of all acquisitions in Israel that are being made by US companies. Next. Looking at the California side, we found that California companies have invested in more than 750 Israeli startups. Almost 500 Israeli startups have offices in California. There are more Israeli unicorns, meaning private companies valued at $1 billion or more of those here in California than any other state. And that underline that, there's a deep infrastructure of human capital reflected in thousands and thousands of alumni of Israel's leading universities. Next. We also go into themes of what technologies really are promising for the future. Just 3 of those. And I think Lieutenant Kounalakis mentioned some of these. Cybersecurity. Israel is an enormous exporter of cyber technology. We have major companies founded by Israelis here in Silicon Valley. In particular, Palo Alto Networks, which employs thousands. SentinelOne, a newer company, very strong in cyber mobility. The biggest acquisition in Israel to date, more than $15 billion, was of Mobileye by Intel. So a lot of capacity in Israel around that. And then water, IDE, which is one of the world's leading water companies, a major focus, of course, on desalination, advanced water reuse. They have more than 600 employees in the US, but it also runs the large desal plant in Carlsbad that provides more than 10% of all the water used in San Diego County. So this is quite a diversity of technologies, and that's just a sampling of the ones where we found a strong connection. So to conclude this, we see a lot of opportunity. We see it in water technology, water management, where Israel has really led the world in this. Mobility, we've talked a bit about, a lot of density of companies in healthcare technology, a lot of density in financial technology, a lot of expertise. Next. And we have some recommendations at the governmental level. The foundation for the governmental relationship with Israel was a 2014 MOU, which is elaborated on by a 2015 MOU involving the University of California for the California-Israel Global Innovation Partnership. There's a steering committee for the MOU's implementation. We think in light of everything we found in this report, it should be reconvened and revitalized. We think there's a value to considering a California-Israel Technology Conference, which could be repeated if people like how it goes. Also, we saw that there's no designated source of public funding to support the implementation of these MOUs, and that's something that should be considered. And that investing in these exchanges will help us address shared challenges on both sides, but it's going to take a deeper level of investment by both sides as well. Next, and I think this is our last slide. We think there's a lot of opportunity for universities to connect by helping entrepreneurs and founders move between Israel and the Bay Area and California even more effectively. And there's also a proposal by the Jewish Caucus in the legislature here in California that would fund the implementation of the MOU in clean energy. And actually, we think there's an opportunity to expand that concept to a broader range of technologies. So I think the bottom line to all of this is that we found that the relationship between California and Israel is extraordinary and extraordinarily intense, especially given the size of Israel's small economy. It's been incredibly productive for both sides. And this just points to the opportunity to build that relationship even stronger and even deeper in the future. Thank you.
Sean, thank you so much for your fantastic work and for this presentation. Very insightful, very informative, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. And I enjoyed working with you for the past almost a year. So thank you so much for that. So without further ado, we'll now move to a discussion about the report with 2 leaders from Israel and from California. Didi Myers, who is California Governor Gavin Newsom's senior advisor and director of the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, and of course CEO Dror Bin, who is the chief executive officer of the Israeli Innovation Authority, which is leading institution promoting Israeli innovation. And I would like to begin this discussion by first asking about your organizations, and if you can provide some perspectives, and also how both organizations support California-Israel partnership, and what are the initiatives that you can offer to continue this partnership to the next level. And Director Myers, please, let's start with you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Consul General Kaplan. It's a pleasure to be here today with Deputy Foreign Minister Roll, with my friend Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, my old friend Jim Wunderman, and all of you. And thank you, Sean Randolph, for that really interesting presentation of the report, which I think provides so much opportunity and information. So thank you for that. It's just great to be here and have the opportunity to engage with our Israeli partners today, including Israeli Innovation Authority. And I'm looking forward to hearing your remarks, Mr. Ben, and talking about how we can further that collaboration. As Lieutenant Governor indicated, California and Israel have a strong relationship. It goes back a long way. It has tremendous potential for the future, and it's an honor to be part of building that legacy with this event. For many of us, one of the first things that comes to mind when we think about the Israeli-California collaboration is the team of Israeli firefighters who came to California to assist CAL FIRE last year. Israel's solidarity in that moment really helped our firefighters meet the enormous and ongoing challenge that we face. And so again, thank you for that enormous partnership and that symbol, not just a symbol, but that practical contribution that really meant a lot to the people of our state. Today's conversation is really about problem solving at a different level, how innovation can address the challenges that we face today. Innovation is something we take quite a bit of pride here in California. We think of ourselves as an innovation economy like Israel's, and we just know our friends in Israel will just understand our ecosystem instinctively. California was ranked #1 in Bloomberg's Innovation Index in 2020, which again is something that we're proud of. And over 50% of the nation's venture capital deal flow happens right here in our state, and obviously some of that goes to Israel as well. We have more scientists, more researchers, and Nobel laureates than any other state, and our thriving ecosystem of incubators and accelerators, universities, and other supports really help our entrepreneurs and our innovators thrive. At GoBiz, we're the state of California's lead for job creation, business assistance, and economic development efforts. An important part of our work is helping our talent base turn innovation into commercialization. In fact, international companies from all over the world choose California because of our state's work to support businesses in helping identify solutions to combat critical issues such as climate change. We have a strong foundation of collaboration with Israel when it comes to innovation. The California-Israel Chamber of Commerce has convened conversations on ag tech, fintech, and cybersecurity, among other things. Our universities have strong academic partnerships, which Sean also touched on. We have the existing MOU to work together on water tech, clean energy, biotech, cybersecurity, and more. And as we discussed, there's more to discuss around that. And the impact of this collaboration is something we can see clearly in the Bay Area Council's report, which highlights the significant California investment in Israel and the impressive footprint of Israeli companies here. So for us at GoBiz, one of the most exciting points of the report was this. At the end of 2020, as noted, 478 Israeli startups had offices here in California, the second highest of any state. When you look at total value, it's even more impressive. Furthermore, the report noted that California is home to 22 Israeli-founded tech unicorns, and that's the most of any state in the U.S. Again, back to that value proposition. So given the strong relationship and the very real impact, we're looking forward to continuing our collaboration to find creative solutions to the challenges that we face together. Now, well, thank you. So.
CEO Ben, thank you for being with us, and we're happy to hear your perspective. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Shlomi. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it was a pleasure to watch the presentation given by Sean. For someone that has been in the high-tech industry for more than 25 years and someone who understands the very close ties between California and Israel, still, this research is really eye-opening to see the depth and the width of the relationship, the economical relationship between California and Israel. I think that it's more than just sharing economic ties and innovation. I think it goes back to the shared culture of innovation, of entrepreneurship, of open society, and this is really the foundation for these ties between the states. It's a real pleasure to be here. For the Israeli high-tech, 2020 and 2021 maybe against what everyone expected were record years in terms of almost any indicator and measure. A peak in capital raise, a peak in just Tommy, please. So in terms of capital raise, in terms of number of unicorns, in terms of the share of the tech industry as part of the Israeli overall export. So almost in every financial measure, the high tech is at all-time peak, the Israeli high tech. And for sure, we have to thank a lot the ties with California. I think that these two ecosystems have been developing in parallel throughout the last decades, and I cannot imagine the Israeli high-tech ecosystem without these ties to California. A few words about the Israeli Innovation Authority. It was established a few years ago as a successor of what was called the chief scientist. Predominantly, this is a government-funded independent agency responsible for implementing the government policy with regards to the high-tech industry, meaning that we are dynamically monitoring the entire ecosystem, whether it's entrepreneurs, investors, multinational companies, academia, accelerators, incubators, just name it. And we have a toolbox that we operate in order to support the different elements of the ecosystem and to make sure that they are all working together towards a common goal. And the chief scientist and following that, the Innovation Authority has been around for almost 5 decades now. And I think they had a great contribution to the Israeli high-tech development over the years. As for the relationship with California, as I said before, California is the largest innovation hub in the world. Israel, in some aspects, is maybe the second larger in the world, and the ties are close. There is a ongoing stream of capital and knowledge between these two innovation hubs. I think that Didi already mentioned the MOU between the governments to support joint research and development and also pilots between the countries. There are also other facilities that were mentioned, like the Bird Foundation, the BART Foundation, and the BSF. All of them are heavily utilized, as Sean presented, between California-based companies and Israeli companies. And this is all very good, and we want it to be even better, and we will talk about that later on. We in the Israeli Innovation Authority are very committed to this relationship, and we hope and plan to work closely with our counterparts in California to make sure that this partnership will reach new highs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate your both perspective, Director Martin and CEO Bin. In the interest of time, I just would like to wrap up and maybe thank all of you and also suggest Ambassador Koulakis, Lieutenant Governor, a few final words for today.
Thank you so much, Shlomo. Well, let me just say what an efficient and effective use of an hour on a Monday morning, then to be able to come together to talk about this incredibly important report. I think, Jim Wunderman, you said it best at the very top when you said that we all knew that there was something very special happening in the relationship between California and Israel. And Sean, of course, for you, it's much more than an hour. This has been a year of digging in and being able to quantify this special relationship that we have. And now for all of us and for everyone watching, we have this report that really, like so many of the Bay Area Council reports on our relationships with international countries, now we have the data to really be able to understand and pin down how it is that all of this magic and special relationship that we've been experiencing is really quantified in a place that we can all talk about it going forward and continue to invest in this important relationship. And let me just say that truly it is underpinned by our shared values. And as has been discussed, and as we know, the strengthening of economic relationships with countries where we have shared values is really critically important, not just here for us in California, but nationally as well. So whether it's in the area of cyber, of mobility, water, ag tech, healthcare, fintech, entertainment, and beyond, this is a relationship that is here to stay. The fact that it is deeply tied to startups, entrepreneurship, and innovation is another key element of what drives the people of our state and the people of Israel. And I think that we can all go forward with this day with the real recognition that this relationship is important, it's values-based, and it's here to stay, and that we hope that it will continue to produce great things for the people of our state, the people of Israel. So again, Mr. Consul General, thank you for convening us all. Mr. Bin, thank you so much. Mr. Roll, it's wonderful to see you. And of course, Director Myers, thank you for taking the time as well, and for everything that you and your staff do every day in ways both large and small to continue to grow these important relationships between California and Israel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ambassador Kounalakis. Thank you for your words, and thank you for staying with us this whole morning. Deputy Foreign Minister Roll, few final words. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief in order to keep the momentum going of a great presentation, and in sake of time running out. I would like to thank you, Didi Myers and Robin, for your commitment to push Israel and California even closer together. Thank you, Sean Randolph, for leading the fantastic work on this important report. I want to express my gratitude to all the contributors, as well as all the companies and executives who took part. As someone who came into politics from the tech industry, I thought I had a pretty good grasp on how close the Israeli ecosystem is with that of the Bay Area. But I was still amazed to learn just how deep and wide these relations go. They were built from the bottom up through thousands of successful interactions. They are a result of incredible partnerships between investors, researchers, tech companies, and philanthropists from both sides. We have so much in common, yet it is clear to me that what brings us together more than anything else is our rich, diverse, and thoughtful human capital. The achievements of past decades are proof that there is little that can stand in our way, and I'm certain that together we can overcome many of the challenges I previously mentioned. I see it as my role and the role of the Israeli government to do all that is necessary to make it easier for the private sector on both sides to work together and flourish. And I plan on coming to California later this year and look forward to discussing frameworks to expand and deepen the cooperation and proposed in the report. Lastly, to Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for a strong commitment and leadership. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Deputy Foreign Minister Roll. And a few final words on my end. I want to thank you all for taking the time and for being this morning, for all the participants with us, and for all the contributors to this report. I also want to thank to all those who work behind the scenes, to Ambassador Kounalakis, the governor's staff, to Director Myers' staff, the Foreign Ministry, my colleagues in the Economic Department, North American Department, the CEO of the Innovation Authority, and of course, the Bay Area Council and Bay Area Institute. Thank you so much for being partners, friends, and believing in this project. And I think we have a great, I would say, not end, but a great beginning for expanding more our cooperation into the future. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.